We're in the final stages of this 12-race season, and it's time for an all-out test of speed and car control in round number 10 as we unleash a bunch of radicals on Watkins Glen. Zach Millett has a strong advantage, but as we usually see here at Watkins Glen, anything can change in this fight today. This place is always so fast, always so tricky, no matter what car you bring here. And today, again, it is a bunch of radicals around here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see how things work out. Hello and welcome to Pit Stop TV. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside this evening. And JP, the Scar Radicals series has been on primetime racing TV all season long, so welcome to that crowd, first of all. But we're here tonight to step in, and we're set to see a dandy night of racing.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a fun thing to have these guys back, and obviously having them at Watkins Glen, one of the fan favorites, one of the best tracks on iRacing, is certainly going to be a lot of fun. And as you mentioned, Andrew, a lot of things can change here at Watkins Glen. We've seen it on, I guess, the real life racing that we have around this race course, but also plenty of times in the iRacing. As you can see, we're running the boot layout with all of its 11 corners, and Andrew, we go left and right, up and down, and it's a fantastic race course, but full of challenges.
It is definitely full of challenges, and I think the biggest challenge for these guys is going to be the first lap on cold tires. In my testing this afternoon, I noticed through turn 5, the carousel, the car can come out from under you. So even with the big splitter and big wing on these radicals, you can still lose control, especially on cold tires. You've got to make sure you are on it every single lap here at Watkins Glen. Let's go ahead and talk about the point standings coming into this evening, round number 10. So after 9 rounds of 12, this is how things look, with Zach Millett ahead by 16, Steve Singer ahead of Tamira by another 21 points, it looks like, and of course things drop off from there. There are so many positions down at the bottom of the field that while they might not fight for a championship, they'll still mix around, but we are focusing right there on the top 3 drivers who have wins: Zach Millett, Steve Singer, and I gotta find him here, David Tamira in car 14. Those are the guys we're watching. Those are the guys realistically locked into this fight for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are going to have quite a bit of pressure, I'd say, under their shoulders here today to make sure they deliver. Obviously, Steve Singer and Tamara, they'll have, I guess, a bigger challenge to try and close that gap to Millet. I mean, 16 points, Andrew. It's a big gap, 37 as well. But, I mean, if you practice, if you can discount, this could be a really good track to do so. And obviously, with the penalties being applied to those that won, there could be something there, for drivers like Singer and Tamara to try and make up a few positions.
Green flag is out for qualifying, not the race. We're not quite that far in the session just yet, but let's take a look at some drivers on track. And, this is a big change. We're used to certain drivers from GT1 racing with these guys a season ago. Now we get to see how things have changed, and now we get to see the Radicals on track. Here is Jason Duckworth in car 73. Vincent Short on track as well, is currently second, and Brad Allison is currently in the third spot here in qualifying. So, just kind of a nice way to see how things are working out, and a chance to go on board for the first time with these cars here on Pit Stop TV. I know this has been a mainstay for you guys over on Primetime Racing TV, but this is a new car for us, and it is a handful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun to drive in. Something that Andrew alluded to me before, qualifying, before we went live, that these cars somehow, I mean, obviously due to the massive levels of downforce, they lap quicker than a GT3 car. So that is absolutely amazing. On straight line speed, it might not be as quick, but through the corners, Andrew, and down the braking zones, we could see quite a lot of action with these levels of downforce.
Brad Allison headed out of turn number 1 up the S's. You can see just how fast these cars are maintaining. He is on the throttle through 5th gear, 140. And yes, they do lap just quicker than a GT3 car here at Watkins Glen. Duckworth currently on pole. A few other cars on track, such as Mark Truxell. Let's go on board with him and kind of get a different view of one of these cars here at Watkins Glen. And you can see the qualifying timer on your bottom right now and see where these guys are at. Well, you don't really see a whole lot. It's actually Earl Lateral goes to 3rd place. This is kind of a better view as to kind of where he is in the scope of things. 7/10 off a pole, best time of a 1:41.928. That means pole time 1:41.193.
It's almost like a helmet cam for F1. It's just on the view of the driver. It's pretty much a POV shot, so we can see pretty much what he's seeing through his eyes right here. As you can see, he's approaching the bus stop chicane, and we're running with the NASCAR rules, aren't we, Andrew? If you cut this chicane by any chance, you have to come to a complete stop. So this is an added challenge to these drivers to make sure they, don't cut in any way, shape, or form, because they will lose quite a bit of time, especially those drivers taking the bus stop nearly flat out with these cars.
Still on board here with Earl. Mark Truxell now into the top 5 in qualifying. 5 cars have turned a time. And a few cars yet to even see the track here today, as only 13 have checked in for this event. Cody Anderson on track in car 17. We'll see what he can do as he comes up to finish a lap, it looks like. And yes, we'll finish up a lap for him, but it's not going to be one that he wants. A 156 across the line. I wonder if maybe there was an issue that lap. Might have even been an out lap back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, looks like there was no time set. Looks like he only has 40 seconds, so he might be able to finish this lap, or he might not. You can see the number 17 out there from Illinois, and you can see he just coming flat out as Duckworth. Oh, there we go. And now 7/10 of a second clear of 2nd place. That was a good lap right there, and that's a beautiful livery, Andrew.
Yeah, that's definitely got some throwback vibes written all over it with the old Castrol colors. Jason Duckworth out of Carolina, and you can see, this is the first time I've seen the Radical logo on one of these broadcasts. It's just nice and fitting. We can even see it here with the lower third. It's got a nice look to it. It really is a Radical concept almost, as qualifying will wrap up 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds to go. These guys will get a chance to finish up their lap times. Vincent Short may be able to put down a better time, but he is 7/10 off a pole as we get 2.5 minutes added to these guys to wrap up their sessions.
As you can see, it looks like he's approaching the final sector, and you can see there Jason, the number 34, looks like he's going to be able to finish this lap as he goes through the bus stop, using quite a bit of curb on both the inside and the exit one as well. As you can see now through the carousel, looks like the car was sliding a little bit on that inside apex, just missing it by a tad, but you can see right here, carrying a bit more speed, a wider entry to try and get the power early, uses all the track available, Andrew, as he's going to approach the back straightaway now.
Doesn't have a time in yet. This is his 4th lap. It looks like these guys get 4 or 5 laps. maybe even unlimited laps, just however many you can set in the session. I don't really recall from last season, so Nethery going to try and put a lap down this time. Cody Anderson goes 5th, bumps Truxell out of the top 5 to 6th. And of course, several drivers not allowed to qualifying. I think we'll see kind of the bottom 6 be those drivers that are not allowed to qualify per win punishments, if you will, and other penalties. A minute 20 to go. Nethery going to have time to get back to the line, as so long as he keeps this lap clean. Duckworth is definitely off pace. He's throwing this lap away, so Nethery really the only one going to have a chance to move up in the qualifying order. Out of turn number 11 and down to the start-finish line, looking to beat a 1:41.046 for pole. He'll go 5th, so he does at least get a lap time in, but it is definitely not good enough for pole time here this evening. That said, we are staging on track and getting ready to go for 50 minutes of racing this afternoon, this evening, if you will, from Watkins Glen International. Let's go ahead and take a look at our grid here. Jason Duckworth on pole in car 73. Vincent Short will start from 2nd. Starting 3rd, you'll find Earl Lateral in car number 12, Brad Allison there in car 03 starts from 4th. And wrap up your top 5, it's Jason Nethery, then Cody Anderson and Mark Truxell wrap up the amount of cars that were able to get a qualifying time in. Zach Millett starts from 8th, starting 9th is Steve Singer. David Tamira wraps up your top 10. The rest of the field is just Leonardo Elijah, DL Lemon, it looks like, or DJ, it's DL Lemon, and Eddie Rose in car 88. So kind of a light field, but that means these guys have a little extra track to kind of get their races in cleanly.
Yeah, absolutely. And those guys with the penalties, Andrew, I guess they'll be thinking the field to be quite this light because, well, they can pretty much see the leaders straight away from their grid positions. As you can see, the track temperature at 83 Fahrenheit looks like it's almost, I guess, a good condition right there for these guys, Andrew. Winds are very calm. They're definitely going to be thinking that. In air temperature at around 79 degrees Fahrenheit as well. So I guess it's a good day of racing for these guys.
Yeah, definitely not too hot. Definitely not too cold. I think there's definitely enough temp in the air, in the track, to get some tire temp built up pretty quickly. We'll see what these guys can do on these opening laps and how treacherous the start might be. As I mentioned, we're going 50 minutes of racing here. 13 cars. It'll be a little bit, I think, calm then. You know, we don't have too many cars to cause too much chaos or anything, but there is definitely still potential for a lot to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. With this short field, Andrew, as you mentioned, might not have a lot of incidents, but we can definitely have a lot of action. Those guys starting from the back with the penalties, they will definitely want to go back to the front to make sure they get enough points for their championship as well. So that should make things a lot cleaner because they will definitely have a lot, up for grabs and a lot to lose as well if they do make any sort of contact. So this should be a very, very exciting 50 minutes for all of us, for the drivers, for us commentating, and obviously for the viewers as well watching back home.
While these guys wrap up their, well, not wrap up, they begin, really, their formation lap. Let's go ahead and thank our partners here at Pit Stop TV. Of course, Whiplash Media SimCams, bringing you the pictures on screen all night long. SimWrapMarket.com, now actually a partner of tomorrow's race that we have here on the channel, which is NASCAR Rallycross at Sonoma. We'll talk more about that later on, but a big partner here at Pit Stop TV, renewing and jumping on for a really cool event that is happening tomorrow. And again, we'll talk more about that later. And of course, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Now, upcoming broadcasts, we'll briefly go over this here at Pit Stop TV. It does not stop here this evening. We continue on the rest of the week. We have 2 more broadcasts this week, 1 next week, and you can see them here. We'll talk more about those again later as well. Let's get back into the standings here for the Superior Class Auto Racing Radical Series. This is an interesting look, and obviously we're watching for Zach Millett. We know he's going to be fast, Steve Singer as well, but they're all coming from the rear, those winners of the season so far. So how do they navigate this here this evening, JP? It's always tough to navigate, well, exactly what we're looking at with a field of cars.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have to balance aggression, trying to get up to the front with caution as well, because if Zach, Steve, or even Tamira, if all of them, either of them makes a single mistake that could damage their cars, it could be, really, really, I guess, not beneficial for their championship. They could really struggle throughout the rest of the race, so they're going to have to balance it out, quite perfectly. And, well, it should make things exciting, trying to see them, moving up positions, but also being careful. It's definitely going to be nerve-wracking. I'm kind of grateful, there we go, that I'm not in their position tonight.
On board here with Vincent Short, sharing the front row with our pole sitter, Jason Duckworth. I'm used to saying Damon Duckworth from the North American Racing League, but Jason Duckworth there on the front row. Gonna have to get used to these names. That's gonna be a bit of a challenge this evening. Earl Lateral starting third, Brad Allison starting from the fourth spot, then Jason Nethery, Cody Anderson, Mark Truxell, the qualifiers with a few cars at the back. They will be lined up by EOL rules, so we'll see exactly where they all end up in this order. But the field working through turn 10 now, coming down to the green flag this time, and we will set them free here in just a moment for round number 10 of this 12-race season for the Superior Class Auto Racing Radical Series. So as they exit turn 11 and head down to the starter here at Watkins Glen, let's unleash these Radicals for the first time on Pit Stop TV, the 10th time this season. Green flag is out from Watkins Glen. Up and through the S's the first time, and already Duckworth pulling weight about everybody else is in a gaggle of race cars. JP, look at this battle.
Yeah, looks like drivers are not afraid to go side by side already in the first lap there. We're being quite aggressive, as you can see. Maybe we're going to see a few moves lining up here on the bus stop. You can see that the leader kind of checking away already, but you can see the rest of the field, they kind of single file right now, as you cannot really go side by side through the bus stop on the first lap, but you can see through the carousel too wide there, as you can see a few cars going wide. And now down here into turn number 6, looks like Mark Truxell is going to back off that move, but still, Andrew, looks like a hectic first lap, and well, we're not even done yet.
Truxell out of Indiana, there we go, a favorite last season of the GT1 cars, sitting back and always likes to just keep his car in one piece as these guys continue to battle ahead of him. Here's a good onboard from Cody Anderson, looking back at David Tamira and Zach Millett. Zach Millett, I think, is going to be one to be reckoned with this evening, always is. And, well, he's got 3 wins in the season. He's the points leader.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely going to be the guy that we're looking for. He's definitely going to be the benchmark for a lot of these drivers as well. You know, just trying to follow him, trying to follow his line and see where they can gain time. Obviously, we couldn't see really his lap time on qualifying, Andrew, due to that penalty, but it should be exciting seeing how fast he moves up through this grid. As well, we're pretty much done, as you can see, with a lap, and he's going to take that penalty that, I guess, just a drive-through penalty, as you can see, Steve Singer as well, and at the end of lap 1 already.
Yeah, you see both these guys headed down the pit lane. Now, they are not taking service. They are just taking a pass-through penalty for previous wins in this season. That's how they do things here at SCAR. That is how they balance the field, pretty much, and try to make it more difficult on repeat winners. Jason Duckworth leading after lap 1. Jason Nethery second. Then Cody Anderson in the third spot. Vincent Short, David Tamira, as they'll battle down to turn number, well, not even a turn number, just the bus stop here, and Nethery's all over the place. I'm kind of surprised he's doing as well as he is. He took a while to get a qualifying lap in, and it wasn't necessarily earth-shattering or anything. I don't want to, diss him too badly here as he's running second, but I definitely think these guys behind him are just a little bit quicker. Maybe not by much, but I feel like they're getting held up a little bit.
Yeah, they could certainly be, but Nethery is doing a fantastic job by holding them up, Andrew. I guess he's doing what he can at the moment. Maybe not feeling too confident with those tires and the temperature they are. And you can see there Cody Anderson. He tried to make a move on the bus stop, and now he's approaching once again. He should definitely try to do so on these braking zones. As you can see, he might look down the outside of turn number 8. Couldn't really get the car in there. And you can see there that big train of cars starting to form up, Andrew. And the driver that I'm looking towards is the one in 5th place, David Tamira. He's starting the championship and he's already up in 5th place, and he can see the top 2, just a few cars away.
Yeah, I think this is a driver to watch for today. Of course, we do not have a halfway break with this race. Usually, we would see that caution be thrown if we were on a Roval, but tonight this is a standalone road course as Duckworth goes fastest at 142, 146, and Tamira goes up the inside for 4th place on Vincent Short. A little bit of contact, maybe a hip check, yes, certainly, and Tamira will take that 4th spot away. But no caution means these guys are running straight for 50 laps. That's going to be really, really difficult on those guys that have a win, Millett and Singer. Of course, we'll see a pit stop, but it's on these guys that are ahead of them that do not have that penalty to keep pace, not make mistakes, not overfuel the car, and everything else. It's a lot to manage, but it's up to them to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have all that pressure to get everything right, to make sure those guys behind them don't catch up. So we're going to have to wait and see when the time for pit stops come and how these guys will handle. Meanwhile, we're seeing still this battle up for second, Andrew. You can see there 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see fifth and sixth cars. They're not too far back as well. So this is still interesting. It was interesting a lap ago, but it's certainly still interesting. As you can see there, Tamira still closing up, Anderson trying to get past Nethery, and they're kind of locked. So the number 14 is definitely taking advantage. As you can see, he's already looking down the inside a bit too far. He gets the nose in there, but it's not close enough.
A good looking battle from turn number 9, or turn 8 to turn 9. Up and over the hill, always a tough corner. Let's ride on board here with Tamira and really watch what he has to do here. This will be a good view from nearly, as you said, the driver's eye of what he's got to do around this course. And, you know, again, like I said, I took some laps earlier today, so I might be able to give a little bit of insight just because I've got a few more laps in this car, but this is really difficult. And I see Brendan Kennedy asking, this is the Radical SR8. And iRacing earlier this year, as Tamira actually goes fastest, and you can see the battle for second developing with Nethery and Anderson. This Radical SR8 was actually pretty much decommissioned. It's still used in some regard on racetracks across the world, but now the Radical SR10 has taken its place even here on iRacing. It is basically a two-seater prototype car. A halfway prototype, halfway open wheels. Here we go. This is a 3-wide battle down the backstretch at Watkins Glen to turn, well, not turn, but to the bus stop, and Tamira will take the 2-for-1 special at Applebee's today. And oh, contact for third. Nethery off the racetrack as Anderson came over into him. They save it.
Somehow they saved it, but you can see a bit of damage right there to Nethery's car, and I think he's going to have a slowdown penalty. He cut the final part of the bus stop, and well, I'm not quite sure if he didn't get a slowdown. That's going to be, as unfortunately he spins Andrew and, hits the tire barrier. And I think it was due to that damage on the rear end. These cars are quite sensitive to those. And you can see it just got a bit worse. He was doing such a fine job in second place, but it all went so wrong so quickly.
Yeah, the suspension on that car, definitely not as it should be. Oh boy, look at him sawing at the wheel.
You can see it's all out of shape. He cannot take these corners, or he cannot even go too fast on a straight line, Andrew. This car is not safe to do so. He could risk getting even more damage at this point. So luckily for him, he's quite close to the pit lane, but this is certainly going to be, you can see how difficult the car is to handle. It's certainly going to be not helpful for him, and Steve Singer looks like spun as well on the exit of 7.
Let's go back to Nethery here. Singer goes around, keeps the car straight. And this is Nethery now headed down the pit lane. Big time issue for him. We'll see if he takes a fast repair potentially. They do have one. I'd imagine he'll definitely take this. But while we wait on that, in case you don't know about the Radical, and I know this is a new car for us here at Pit Stop TV, so it's worth mentioning, right? This is a steel space frame chassis built by Radical. 15 16-inch tires, I believe that's front to back. 15 on the fronts, 16 on the rears, I believe. 380 horsepower under the hood, a V8, 2.6 liter V8. I'm just looking down the specs here. Ride height 50 millimeters. It is just over 4 meters long. It is just a light little race car. It's basically a prototype, and it's not a car that is often used on iRacing anymore, but it's definitely a fun race car to run, as we're seeing this evening. And these guys have made one heck of a season out of this race car. They've really had a lot of fun.
And these guys, I mean, they made a fantastic season on the GT1s a season ago, Andrew, didn't they? You know, just using, I guess you can say, old cars at this point, and it's just been amazing. You know, this Radical, it's such a fun car to race, and you can see it's a fun car to battle, as well as you can see a replay of Tamara's overtake. I was going to say, you know, he could really use this battle to get up to second place, and he certainly did so, and we saw that contact right there, and that could have really sparked up the damage that unfortunately cost him quite a bit. And now we're going to see the spin out of turn number 6. You can see, I think it's going to be all out of shape, and
he the curb and just goes around.
Oh, yeah. I think may have been a bit of the curb as well, Andrew.
Yeah, I got the curb and just goes around there on the exit of the laces, and unfortunately that will end his competitive day for Nethery, but he will continue on. Steve Singer back onto the racetrack with little to no issue. He actually continues on, and drivers are starting to make their run down pit lane. I think this is scheduled for fuel. This feels early, but, I mean, there is damage here on the 17. I I don't think that car looks bad enough, and we see multiple cars on the pit lane. Unless they're all coming in for damage, this is very interesting.
It certainly is. They started with 50% fuel, Andrew, but I'm not quite sure if even with 100%, these cars can run 40 minutes flat out. So it's going to be interesting to see these guys. You can see they're taking full fuel at this point. I think 12.57 for short. You can see there the number 15 as he exits. Nethery had an 11.4 and Anderson had a 12.5. So it's all similar. So I'm assuming they took, if not full tanks, I mean, enough to go to the end.
Very, very interesting. With 10 minutes elapsed here at Watkins Glen, this is where your point leader sits in the 7th position. Zach the Hack Millett. I like that nickname for him. But Zach Millett currently in the 7th spot, right smack dab in the middle of the field. He's got Brad Allison ahead, Mark Truxell, Leonardo Elijah, with Dia Lemon and Steve Singer out back as Eddie Rose, it looks like, loses the spot to Jason Nethery. But he is only 23 seconds behind the race leader. And now, Zach and Steve will both have to pit. They don't get the advantage of pitting early and getting fuel with that penalty. They have to serve that penalty and take no fuel as Tamira goes faster. Tamira, no draft right now. Just these are tire temps and fuel levels burning. So tire temps coming up, fuel levels going down. The car is getting a little bit faster. We'll see if Zach Millett goes a bit faster this lap. This is lap number 6 for Zach. But he's made his way through a lot of the field already. Only 22.8 seconds now back of the race leader, and Duckworth is starting to lose pace. I'm not sure if the tire is going away on that number 73, but he's actually losing time now to David Tamira, so we could see 3rd place in the standings, Tamira, go on by our pole sitter tonight.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, Andrew. That gap was 3 seconds once Tamira took over 2nd place, and you can see it's already down to 1.4, 1.5. Meanwhile, the gap to Millett, it's kind of stationary. It's not coming down as quickly. So Tamira looks like he is the fastest guy on racetrack. At least he's the most consistent because he's bringing this gap down. So Jason Duckworth, he got pole position. He led, the first 12 minutes of the race. So the pressure is on him to try and regain that early pace that he had, Andrew. But so far, the number 14 seems to be closing up inch by inch.
This is almost a McLaren kind of view here, JP, as we get to see the flames from the backfire on these cars. The exhaust pipe's right under our gearbox camera at the back end of these Radicals. But as far as the battle, yeah, Tamira continues to close in. There's not much in the way of Zach Millett currently. He's got 5 more seconds off to Brad Allison before he has to battle for position number 6. Continuing to close in on Duckworth. But the interesting thing, I think Tamira and Millett's pace are nearly identical. Last lap for Tamira was a 140.7. Millett actually last lap was a 142.3, so I think he's found a little bit of trouble trying to get by some of these lapped cars. We'll see what this lap is for him as he comes across the line here in a moment. An opportunity to put him right against Tamira's time. It's a 140.7, so I mean they are within a tenth of each other. Yeah,
they're posting really similar lap times, which is I guess is good. You know, if you're Millett, you can see you're putting similar lap times. Obviously, you need to be quicker. But, yeah, so far it's good for them. Meanwhile, Andrew, the gap for 1st place just came down drastically to 0.6 of a second. So, I mean, Tamira is putting up an amazing first sector, and Duckworth might be feeling the pressure right here, Andrew. For the first time in this race, we could be seeing the number 73 under pressure, and that's going to be from David Tamira, the number 14. So, this could be a really, really exciting battle for the lead of this race.
And this starts to raise a couple of questions, right, JP? I mean, is this potentially a strategy play from Duckworth? Is he sitting back, saving fuel? Are the tires burnt off? Is it just a matter of difference of pace? Because Tamira did not have this qualifying pace. Granted, actually, he didn't get to qualify, I think, at all. So, I don't know. This is very, very interesting the way this is starting to work out. And I'm kind of interested by the fact that Tamira is making up this much time.
Yeah, something has just clicked right with the number 14, and something is not clicking right. I mean, it certainly is for Duckworth. He's 11 seconds clear, 12 seconds clear of 3rd place, but he's not at the pace that he needs to be to, I mean, keep the lead of this race. And so far, you can see the gap even coming down more and more, 0.4 of a second right now. So I feel like, Andrew, we could be seeing a nice little battle right here at the exit of turn 1. And you can see there 0.4 of a second up the hill. Tamira should be getting a pretty nice slipstream, and we could be seeing them going side by side towards the bus stop.
They'll work up the hill of the S's, and definitely Tamira is within striking distance now. And look at that, fastest lap from Zach Millett, a 1:40.4. And here goes Tamira on by into the S's. Easy pass for car 14 as he takes over here at Watkins Glen. Just past 14 minutes complete. So now you're really looking at, I think, the battle for the win with Tamira versus Millett. We might even see tires taken. You know, JP, we're used to GT races that go this distance. We're not used to Radical races that go this distance. I think we'll see tire changes very possibly for these guys as they work into this race.
I was going to point that out too. I mean, it's certainly a possibility that we could be seeing tire changes, especially if these guys are pushing more and more. And I mean, only the lap times, I guess, will tell that story. If we start seeing understeer from these guys, if we see the lap times drastically dropping, then we could be seeing hints of that tire wear. But I mean, it's still, I guess, quite a long way to go. I'm not quite sure how long 50% of the fuel goes on Radicals, but I mean, it should be getting to, I don't know, a point soon enough that drivers will be thinking about how much fuel they have to take out.
Wow, Mark Truxell, what a close call.
That was, wow, really close. Was that out of turn 9, turn 8?
Was that a turn 8 up to turn 9? Problems here for Earl Lateral.
And damage as well. You can see that on the right side of the rear quarter panel. You can see that the rear wing is a bit bent as well. So I could be expecting to see him down in the pit lane to get that fixed, Andrew. And looks like we won't see.
Allison will pit. Oh no, Allison's defending. Actually gives this spot up to Zach Millett. So that makes it easy on Millett for 6th. Now Millett's going to have to deal with this damage number 12 of Earl Lateral. This is going to be real interesting.
And you can see he's already closing up on the uphill. Could be difficult. He might have to lift and lose all that good momentum. You can see he's taking a bit of a wider line. And you can see right here the speed difference. Now the slipstream kicking in. He's going to be forced to go the long way around. And you can see there just the slightest bit. But now he gets the car through and he should be getting that position. There you go. He moves himself up into 5th place. Andrew taking quite a bit of curb on the inside. But gets the job done. Now 20.5 seconds behind the leader. And that gap, well, it's coming down.
There we go. I had to find the right bug at the top right. But yeah, Millett now 20 seconds behind Tamira. It's going to be a lot to ask of him in 33 minutes to make up those 20 seconds, but we'll see some differences, I think, at the pit stop. And I'm sure Zach will try and take a little bit less fuel if possible. So we'll see what car 315 is able to do. His next challenge ahead is Truxell, 17.5 seconds up the road. Let's go back to that last lap and see what happened to Lateral.
Yeah, because that was quite a big moment, especially with Truxell. Was a really close call, and as you mentioned, was outside of turn 8, and you can see he lost it on the apex, and then I guess just tried to power it in back on the racetrack, but unfortunately it was too much grip, I guess, on the rear and front tires. Wasn't able to get the car spin around. But you saw there, Andrew, for a brief moment, it looks like he was lost already on entry in mid corner. As you can see here, we're gonna get a good view right here as he enters the toe, turn number 7. He takes a bit of a turn line. All good so far, and then everything is gonna go wrong.
On board here with Earl. Let's see what happens here in turn 8. Just a little too much brake, I think, at turn in. It nose the car down, locks it up there into the wall a little bit, and then as he tries to get back going, comes across the racetrack. And oh my goodness, Mark Truxell. That is a code brown if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Mark's heart rate went a bit up when he saw that car going in his direction. And luckily for him, there was a bit of an escape road down there for him to take avoiding action. And now we're going to take a look at exactly how close it was from pretty much the driver's eye, Andrew, right here as he approaches turn number 8. You can see a slight view of his competitor. Then, well, everything is according to plan. He might get a yellow flag. He sees a puff of smoke, and then, oh!
Wow. That's scary.
That was certainly. And but luckily for him, that was an amazing reaction to go to the right place to avoid that crash. And well, at the end of the day, he didn't get any damage, and he earned a position as well.
Let's go on board now with Zach Millett as he runs Truxell down. I think this will be a nice clean battle between these two. I don't think Mark is going to be too big of an issue. Oh, that's going to be a slight issue for Millett, but now actually side by side through 11. That's going to slow Zach down just a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to slow both of them down, and you can see right there, Mark still has him clear, but looks like Millet is going to look down the inside of turn number 1. They're pretty much nose to tail. Millet breaks a bit deeper. Mark doesn't really fight it at this moment, and you can see he's going to be benefiting from a bit of slipstream, but you can see there Millet already kind of checks out around 0.7 of a second clear, so a great comeback drive from Millet Andrew. 4th place, but still 21 seconds behind the leader.
Meanwhile, big problem. Steve Singer, he is wadded up. His home racetrack here at New York, well, in New York, here at Watkins Glen. Let's see if he pits this time. I'm not sure when he garnered this damage, but let's see if we can find out.
And, well, he didn't pit Andrew, which is really out of the car with that much damage. Not quite sure if he already used his fast repair once in this race, but you can see right here on the last section.
This is multiple laps ago.
And you can see it all looks so good. Oh, he got...
Wow.
Oh. You can see the car just snapping mid-corner, and unfortunately for him, no runoff areas at that point. One of the few corners in Watkins Glen that you don't have a lot of runoff area, and unfortunately it was that corner that his car got a bit loose. And, well, we unfortunately saw the result of that.
Another good look here. So much speed through that corner. Just got away from him. Walks it out to the outside wall. Comes over to the inside wall. Back to the outside. That is a wallop of an impact for car 6. And unfortunately, I think this takes him out of the... possibly out of contention for the championship. It's going to be hard to say. I mean, there's still a lot of racing to go at Homestead next week in Charlotte to wrap up the season. But this is going to be really tough to come back from. Oh!
It certainly is. There's a massive, massive hit. And as you mentioned, big consequences for his championship.
Such a hit that it knocked the mirror out of the frame. Look at that. On the right side.
That's the strongest mirror I've ever seen on a race car, not going to lie.
Well, it's the weirdest mirror. The mirror itself is just kind of flung out of the frame, and, I guess it's hanging on. He now sits in the 11th spot.
He has a near rear view angle for his race car, and unfortunately, I'm not pretty sure if that would be better or worse, but as you mentioned, 11th place for him. He's still running on a damaged car, Andrew, and somehow this car looks quite drivable.
It's definitely washing around a little bit. I noticed it under braking, and yeah, he's going to come in now. This looks like a fuel stop, though. But that car is definitely just a little bit off kilter. You can see the steering wheel there a little bit to the right. It's not perfect at all by any means. It's definitely steering a bit cattywampus as he heads down the pit lane here at Watkins Glen. Let's see if this is just a fuel stop with a fast repair for him.
Yeah, I'm wondering right now, did he just try to, just run a few extra laps to make sure he can just stop, get the fast repair, there you go, and fuel up to the end of the race?
I think that's the goal here for him. And you can see him taking a service on the pit lane. Again, a big thank you to Primetime Racing TV and Corey Silva for having us this evening, stepping in for him. I'm not sure exactly where he's at. I think possibly vacation. I'm not really sure. But not able to cover this evening, which means we get the call up. We covered last season of this series when they were running GT1 cars. It's very, very cool to have this opportunity to come back and see some more racing here with the Superior Class Auto Racing Radical Series and see how this series has evolved. It's up to the S's. Zach Millett going to work on Leonardo Elijah. Not somebody we've talked much about yet today, but sitting in the 3rd spot, keeping a nice clean race going for himself. That said, here comes car 315.
And you can see right there the slipstream working wonders. You can see there the difference in speed. Is he going to be close enough to the bus stop? No, not quite. And you can see there Andrew balancing aggression with caution. He could have gone for the move down the inside. Well, there you go. Just waited one extra corner and got the move done on the inside of the carousel up to 3rd place. The 315 is. So, I mean, a fantastic race for him. Just 2 more positions for him. And, well, he could be in the lead of the race. The next car up looks like it's a long way, Andrew. Looks like 16 seconds. So now it's going to be a whole bunch of qualifying laps trying to bring that gap down. And the question is, can he bring it down quick enough before the end of the race?
The biggest thing to look at is the fact that Tamira is still 20 seconds clear of Zach Millett. And, I mean, this is very much, I think, how you write Tamira's next penalty in is he gets the 2nd win today by just keeping the car clean from here on out. In the last 7 minutes, Tamira's only lost, I think, a second, maybe 2. I mean, he is on it right now. Car 14 is definitely keeping that car where it needs to be, which is on the racetrack. And you can see nobody but ahead, but he's now 3 and change clear of Duckworth. just putting down the laps he needs to. He's been very, very consistent. Still in the 140.7s. This car is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just pretty much on rails. They're pretty much on the exact same pace. And right now, I think he's just going to be monitoring his relative. Obviously, he's going to be planning his pit stop at one point, and he has to nail that as well. But, I mean, so far, he's doing everything he needs to do. You know, just keep putting those clean laps in, trying to avoid any instant points, trying to avoid any trouble if he finds any ahead. And, well, just keep on ranking the laps. Still 25 minutes to go, so it's pretty much halfway point in 20-odd seconds time. So, I mean, still 50% of the race to go, Angel. Plenty of stuff still to happen, but I'm pretty sure the number 14 doesn't want anything to happen other than seeing the checkered flag.
25 minutes to go here at Watkins Glen. Let's go Pit Stop TV side by side for a few moments and see how this race evolves. We'll be right back.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen International. Not much has changed, although we did just see a big issue for Leonardo, Elijah, and 10 laps ago, Eddie Rose parked it. So a couple of retirees now in this race at Watkins Glen. Still 20 minutes to go, though, JP. A lot of racing yet to happen, and not much has changed between the two top drivers of the day, David Tamira and Zach Millett, with Jason Duckworth in between. So it's still looking like very much the same picture, and I know we've hyped up David Tamira so far, but let's not forget the guy in the middle, Jason Duckworth, who has been so good and just keeping that car where it needs to be in the second spot. He's still 15 seconds ahead of Millett and likely in a good position to finish second.
Oh, he's in a fantastic position. Since we came back, he only lost, I think, 2/10 of a second to Tamira, and well, he lost a bit to Millett, sorry. As you can see there, an issue looks like for Mark Truxell as he exits the pit lane, so I don't think it was an issue, maybe just a stop. As you can see there, Brad Allison as well on the pit lane. Looks like a 14, 15, 16 seconds. It's going to take rear tires as well, looks like. But the pace from the top three, Andrew, have been, I mean, pretty much similar. As you can see there, Elia, well, looks like he is unfortunately going to be taking quite a long stop if he does elect to rejoin the racetrack. Currently 2 laps down already. And you can see there the car goes fixed. The front wheels go up, so we might see him back on the racetrack.
Meanwhile, Millett trying to track down Duckworth, still 14 seconds behind. So that's a lot to make up in just 19 minutes of racing left to go here at Watkins Glen, especially when you're so wide open. There's so much less going on in a lap compared to places like, I don't know, Circuit of the Americas, or even next week at Homestead, or even the week after at Charlotte. There's just not a whole lot of places you can mess up, especially in a car like this where it's flat out up the S's. Not a whole lot of room for error. So Millett only has a few places that he can make up time on Duckworth or Tamira, and with the pit stop strategy as clean cut as it is, that penalty that he gets for winning those races is going to keep him, I think, out of victory lane today.
Yeah, it could certainly be, Andrew. As you mentioned, it's so difficult on a track, like this with such high downforce cars to make up time. It's certainly going to be on braking zones, trying to brake a little bit later, trying to nail those apexes. And you can see he's doing there. He's catching up, but is it enough? Right now, he needs to catch up at a rate like near a minute. A second per minute, I should say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's certainly possible, but at this point, I think it's a bit too hard. Certainly, things could still happen. As you can see now, Duckworth looks like he's approaching a lapped car, and, well, that lapped car is definitely not going to make his life difficult. And at this point, I think Duckworth, well, pretty much just needs to nail his pit lane, Andrew. He just needs to nail it, and he should be good to go for second place, and it's still applying a decent amount of pressure to Tamara, just being that 3.5 second barrier, just, keeping the number 14, make sure he's on his toes.
A mid-pack battle that isn't really a battle right now, but could be by the end of this race, is Mark Truxell chasing DL Lemon. 2.7 seconds as they work through the bus stop. Truxell being nice and easy on those apex curves, not jeopardizing this car. He's definitely not somebody who takes many risks, and I like that about him. He's one of the safest drivers I've ever seen on iRacing on a road course, especially in this series. I think possibly the safest driver in this series. Always just is sure of his footing and makes very, very few mistakes, as Zach Millett will make his trip down the pit lane.
Yeah, looks like Zach is coming down the pit lane. We're going to see his pit stop time. Looks like he's not taking tires for the time, so he could be risking it on just one set, although it's a long stop, Andrew, 18, 19 seconds. We haven't seen that, and there you go. He goes off, as you can see there, lateral on the pit lane, so a 20.35 second stop. Quite a bit of fuel went into the Radical machine. We're going to have to see. That should be enough. As you can see there, lateral looks like he's going to be taking tires, and the number 12 just in 4th place at the moment. He's going to be coming in. And it looks like it should be a pretty similar stop as well. Over 20 seconds for the number 12. And now he's going to be taking a bit extra fuel. Yeah, quite a lot of fuel for only 16 minutes as well.
Wow.
I mean, these guys ran with 50% of fuel tank. And they ran, 35 minutes, 25 minutes. So for only 16, that was quite a bit of fuel.
Here comes our race leader onto pit lane, David Tamira.
So we should keep an eye as well on his pit stop time. Duckworth as well on the pit lane.
Both of these drivers pitting, coming in for service. We expect, of course, at least quite a bit of fuel, about 20 seconds or so, maybe less, maybe more. But will they take tires? Honestly, in Tamira's position, I don't know that I would.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, definitely.
It depends on how much fuel you're putting in, because we've seen these guys still waiting on fuel once the jacks drop. If they're going to put in that much fuel, definitely take tires, get the advantage out of it. But if it's going to be a splash and dash, don't take tires at all.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, and especially with the tires coming into this car, as you can see there, Duckworth taking tires, and he's going to be losing quite a bit of tires to Tamara, and could lose second place to Millet. This is a gamble, you see, 22.5, so on the pit stop itself, he only lost 2.5 seconds, give it or take it, 2.2 I should say, and looks like it's not going to make a lot of difference. He should have fresher tires though, but is it going to pay off? Just 15 minutes to go?
Looks like we're going to have even footing for the top three at this point. 9 seconds, well, just over 9 seconds, just under 10 seconds, really, for Zach Millet to make up on Duckworth. It's hard to say exactly whether or not he makes up this time, as Lemon gives up a spot. He is coming in for service.
That was a very easy entry to the pit lane, definitely not risking any penalties at this stage of the race, and well, he might be one of the final drivers to also come down to the pit lane, Andrew, isn't he? Tamara, Duckworth, Millet, Truxel, Lateral, they all came in. Singer came in a bit early due to his instance, so I think this should be one of the last guys we see on the pit lane.
Yes, we believe this is the last driver to make a stop. So the double lot will get jacked up, we'll get new tires, and rejoin the field here soon. But the big thing now is whether or not Millet can make up these 15 seconds to David Tamira. Now, this tracker is going to track the second place Duckworth, so it's tracking 8 seconds, but he is gaining a lot right now. And I don't know if he took tires, the others didn't, but his pit stop, 2 seconds longer than Tamira, would lead me to believe they're on the same strategy. I think they both jacked up. I think they both took tires.
Yeah, we saw Duckworth's car, coming up. So, Andrew, I think could be, those tires not up to temperature. You mentioned, that you ran a few laps and the car got a bit loose on the carousel. Could be Duckworth going a bit easy to make sure those tires gradually go up to temperature. And you can see this on the early stages, at least. It's definitely hurting him as he's losing a lot of time to Tamara and to Millet as well. As you can see, it's already down to 7 seconds. So in just one lap, that was what? 2.7 seconds almost lost. So, I mean, if it was a gamble, I don't think it's working so far.
Last lap for David Tamira was a 212.876. Last lap for Duckworth was a 217.2. So a 5-second difference in their outlap alone. I think it's safe to say Duckworth has just about written himself into a best of second and possibly even third here. It's still a big order for Millet to make up the 7 seconds required to make this pass, but it's not at all out of the question as he will go by DL Lemon. I do think it's getting more and more out of the question for Millet, though, to make up the 14 seconds required for the win. That is a tall order now with 12 and a half minutes to go and closing. Now, Steve Singer, second place in the championship, now sits in the 8th place. We've seen a lot of struggles for him today. Finally starting to right the ship a little bit, but a little bit too late.
Unfortunately for him, it wasn't the race that he wanted. I'm pretty sure he wanted to be up there with Millet, trying to battle for the podium, but unfortunately we saw, that massive instant that he had on the final corner definitely hurt him, Andrew, and well, he's doing the best of what he can do, I guess you can say. He's certainly making sure he rides cleanly. He certainly has quite a bit of pace, but I mean, with just 11 minutes and 40 seconds left, I think the amount of positions he can gain at this point are quite limited.
Once again, a big thank you to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media SimCam, SimRatMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, all allowing us to do this. It's not every day to sit down at the computer, do a sim racing broadcast here on the iRacing.com sim, but these partners of ours allow us to do so. It's a lot of fun. It's so good to have you back here, JP. I haven't talked to you in a while. I haven't broadcasted with you in a while since the conclusion of the most recent North American Racing League series with Porsche Cup cars. So it's good to be back into this kind of grind. I know we have that season coming up later in December when they make their return, and well, there's still limited information about that, but we'll talk more about that here in the coming months. it's just good to be back into this kind of grind and, well, have you back on the broadcast here. And it's really interesting and really good to be back here with the Superior Class Auto Racing Radical Series, a series that we covered last season here on Pit Stop TV and that you guys over at Primetime Racing TV have seen all this season. But some of these drivers and at least these cars in this season new to us as these guys work round 10 of 12. Tamira is still out front by 7 and change. That's 7 seconds and change as he works around turn number 11. Just over 10 minutes to go, and JP, it's hard to bet against car 14.
Yeah, at this point, it's just him against himself, I'd say. It's just a question if he can keep it pointing in the right direction. I wish I could knock on wood. I'm actually going to try it. There we go, because, even though I've been away for a long time, Andrew, that commentator's curse could be building up, on this lack of commentating. So, hopefully everything goes right for the number 14, and he certainly is deserving of a win today. The performance has just been there, as we mentioned. Qualifying wasn't his strong point, but on race pace, something ticked off on this car, which is amazing to see. And as you mentioned, it's good to be back. Went away for quite a bit, but it's just fun to be back with a league that was so much fun, on the early stages of the year. I think it was in January and December that we started picking these guys up on the GT1 and seeing at least 3 familiar names around here. It's certainly fun.
Yeah, we started covering that series back in October of 2021, and it carried on through the winter and into this new year of 2022. It's weird to say new year now, considering it's into September, but a whole lot has changed, but it's good to be back with these guys. Good to be working with Steve Singer again at this series, and just see, again, a lot of these names out here on track once again. Zach Millett, 6 seconds to go to make up to Jason Duckworth for the second spot. Do you think he does it?
I think at this point, Andrew, he has the momentum. 8 minutes and 50 to catch up 6 seconds. If he can keep up, just this rate, it certainly is possible. But I think that the amount of time, I guess the delta, as you can see, he's closing up, certainly has come down. But if he starts seeing this gap still, I guess, just keeping shorter, getting shorter and shorter, I should say, it's certainly going to bring him a little bit more confidence to push. The question, it's just down to the time. It's so difficult to call, but I'm gonna say he's gonna get close enough.
I don't think he does. 8 minutes to go. He's still gonna make up 6 seconds, and the tires are equalizing as we speak. Last lap for Tamira, a 141.290. I think he's starting to relax. Last lap for Duckworth, a 140.817. Last lap for Millett, only a 140.694. It is just over 1/10 better over the course of a whole lap, and he needs to make up a whole lot more than 1/10. He needs to make up 5.7 more seconds. It's going to be extremely tough to live up to that order. He's the best driver here, I think. Well, we've seen that. 3 wins this season, but it's going to take a whole lot more. As here comes Vincent Short. He pitted early, if you recall, and I think his strategy has come around to bite him.
Just a few laps short, and
you
can see a bit of damage. Yeah, looks like a small touch on that front end. And he's going to be forced to come back to the pit lane. I think these cars are quite sensitive to damage. And unfortunately for him, just less than a handful of laps to go, he found himself...
2 laps to go. He's had this damage for a while.
Yeah, I know. So it's pretty much a fuel stop. As you can see there, quite a bit of damage. The mirror, I think, was knocked off as well, Andrew. So another driver with some mirror problems. And unfortunately, Vincent is going to be forced to come down in the pit lane. And looks like someone else is down in the pit lane. Jason Nethery. He was running second place on the first few laps in this race, and unfortunately right now is going to be dropped all the way to 10th, maybe 11th?
Yeah, for a while we thought the Indy Autosport driver could do a whole lot more and finish inside the top 3, but since then he has had a couple of big issues. We saw the big crash for him earlier, and is now in the 10th spot and just ahead of Leonardo Elijah. This is a battle for position for 10th and 11th. Oh, this could be interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is. You can see there the gap is less than a second between them. You can see there Nethery going defensive. You can see how much time he's losing. You can see right here the number 43 has the best racing line and closes up a little bit. Unfortunately, not close enough. You can see there the flames, as you mentioned, similar to the McLaren we're used to. As you can see there, Leonardo trying to catch up through turn 6. This is where Nethery had his incident on the first few laps of the race, and you can see just how much the 43 caught up.
Aerial view now, through the toe. The Indy Autosport 34 under pressure from the 43. Again, this is for 10th and 11th position on the track. 1 minute 34 behind our leaders. That's actually only 6 seconds up the road from our leader.
So if these guys keep battling for a few extra sectors, there you go. You can see, yeah. So you can see there the number 14 really closing up quite a lot. This could get interesting for these two, and certainly could get interesting for Tamira as well.
5 minutes to go. We're expecting 30 laps, so this will be 4 laps to go for the leader, 5 laps to go for these two.
Now you can see there Leonardo, the number 43, he has a slipstream engine, but looks like Nethery just has the best of him around corners. As you can see, taking a bit of a wider line, that's going to cost him a little bit, and this could be the opportunity that the 43 wanted up the hill. You can see he's closing a little bit. He could have the slingshot through the back straightaway up to the bus stop, and you can see right here, this could be the position that moves the 43 up into the top 10 position. You can see they're just moving out to the outside. He's going to have to outbrake the number 34. Can he do so? Not quite this lap, but you can see, Andrew, he's definitely determined to do so.
Let's go back on board with the 43 of Elijah. Really good view here as he tries to track down this 34 car. He's tracked him down, but he's got to do a whole lot more work. And, of course, Nethery fresh out of the pit lane. Might just have that bit of extra oomph he needs right now as this is getting closer and closer between these two. They've been nearly alongside, but can Elijah make a move here on the closing laps? These guys are about maintaining now to the race leader, and I have to wonder if Tamira maybe is seeing this up the road and trying to manage it, trying not to run into the back of it and let these guys race as he starts to slow up a little bit. Last lap of 141.669. Not sure.
Could certainly be a strategy, Andrew. We saw sometimes, just the leaders being involved in these, in back markers battle, and unfortunately not going, the best way possible for them. So it could certainly be a strategy, just managing that gap to Duckworth, managing that gap to Millet, and obviously managing the time as well to maybe run one extra, actually not.
Thanks for standing by. As you can see, we've just rejoined the sim with 10 seconds to go. Not much has changed. Give the paints just a moment to reload as Tamira takes the white flag here. Presented by Whiplash SimCams. Lap 30 of 30 is underway at Watkins Glen. A very interesting way to rejoin JP, but just in time for the final lap.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it was just perfect to rejoin in this final lap. And you can see not a lot has changed. We saw Millet gap, came down from 10 to 8 seconds, looks like. But you can see there the gap between Tamara and Duckworth is still around 3.5 seconds. So they all maintained pace. And, well, it looks like both Leonardo, Elijah, and Nethery both got promoted.
Problems for Truxell out of turn 1.
Oh.
No, it's actually turn 9. He flips the car back around. He'll get passed by Steve Singer for 5th. And the driver that we talked about being the safest in this series has just had an accident in the Little Tate's Cupcakes, number 5. And he will take a lot of damage, drop down to the 6th spot. So unfortunate to see for Mark Truxell.
Second to last lap as well for him, just entering the final lap. That's gonna hurt, losing that top 5 finish for him, Andrew. Obviously, Steve Singer is gonna be thanking him for that, but unfortunately for him, as you can see there, Tamara just managing the gap to those 2 drivers ahead of him. Looks like that hasn't changed as they're both still in the lead lap, so they're gonna have one more lap to battle it out. Meanwhile, number 14 only has a few extra corners.
You can see Duckworth in the background. Tamira managing this, trying to let these guys stay on the lead lap. It's going to be just about a 2-second gap when it's all said and done and official here at Watkins Glen. But David Tamira is now a 2-time winner in the Superior Class Auto Racing Radical Series, winning at Watkins Glen.
And what a performance that was, just managing the gap at the end. You can see there.
Oh, Steve Singer, wow! He had just made a pass for 4th. Had just gone on by Earl Lateral.
And he's going to be losing all those positions, Andrew. He's going to finish in 10th place, I think.
I think you're right. Earl Lateral now has crashed.
Oh.
Literally just up the road. He was going to have that spot. Now Mark Truxell goes by. Vincent Short's going to come to this. Short goes by. Wow.
Oh, what a final lap. What a final lap for these guys.
And now here's these 2 drivers that we saw battling so much. Jason Nethery and Leonardo Elijah. Nethery losing this spot. Elijah going on by. We thought that was for 10th. Now it's for 7th.
Just how fast things have changed, Andrew. And this is something that we all know in racing. I guess it's rule number 2 after not crashing your teammate. The race is not over until we cross the finish line. I mean, these guys are up to 7th and 8th place. Truxell was down to 6th as he entered the final lap. Now he's up to 4th. I mean, what a race we just had.
Here's Vincent Short that we thought was way out of the top 5. He will finish 5th. Cody Anderson will finish 6th. And 12 seconds behind these guys, Leonardo Elijah will suddenly go from battling 2 laps ago, 3 laps ago, he was 11th place. He is going to finish 7th.
That's racing for you. It's never over until it's over. And you can see there the number 43 is going to finish in 7th. The number 34, Jason Nethery, is going to finish in 8th place. And then you can see there Lateral is going to finish in 9th as the race is over. And Steve Singer, Andrew, he was up to 4th place. And he finished the race in 10th on the final lap.
Wow. Incredible stuff. Now here is the replay of Steve Singer making up time here on Earl Lateral. This was for 4th. Singer had just taken 5th a few laps prior. Now was battling for 4th, had just run up on Earl Lateral. And both of them crashed within, what, a couple of 100 feet?
You can see there Steve Singer went down the inside, got pretty much the move done. You can see he's slow enough down on the apex, lost the car, and I guess, Andrew, once again, he just overcorrected, and I think our Lateral got a piece of that. And you can see there, unfortunately for Steve, he got the car back on all 4 wheels, but kind of didn't, as well as he was just pretty much just hanging on the tire barrier.
Back on board with Singer. Now let's go on board with Lateral and watch this and see how he ends up in this. Net coated him. Wow.
And I think he got stuck. I think he tried to rejoin, and I think the nose of the car just got stuck there.
It does.
Yeah, he just,
Wow. What a turn of events for these two. Have you ever? That's where you say, no, I've never. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, I was saying with the mic off. It's just crazy. And we caught it live as soon as it happened. Oh, I guess it just overcorrection, net code, with both cars flipping, and both of them, I mean, landed on their tires, on their feet, Andrew. And unfortunately, both of them didn't DNF, but weren't able to finish under their own power.
Well, yeah, that would be DNF. This is just... They do make it to the last lap, but they don't quite make it to the checkers. I mean, this is incredible. I've never seen anything quite like that. Both of those cars seemingly, at first, separately, but because of the contact with the 6, well, the simulated contact with the 6, and that's always so difficult to explain. I know a lot of you guys watching probably are maybe unfamiliar with the term netcode, but basically, it is the iRacing.com sim doing its best to run calculations, considering it's a program, to calculate contact. So it's trying to trying to predict where the 6 car is going to be in this case, and it predicts that it's going to ricochet that car back into the racing line in front of Earl Lateral, and or into Earl Lateral, I suppose, and make contact. Well, obviously, it didn't appear that way to us. It appeared there was a lot more room between them, and they didn't make contact, but the sim predicted it, and it's just kind of how it works out. It's always so tough to try and explain, but it's just part of iRacing.
Sometimes they give it, sometimes they take it away, and unfortunately this time, Andrew, it was the latter. Unfortunately for Earl, because, I mean, Steve just unfortunately overcorrected it, and at that point, he could do absolutely nothing. And sometimes that's just the way it goes on iRacing.
Let's go ahead and go through our race results here this evening from Watkins Glen. Unofficial, of course, but David Tamira on top of the board in the 14 car. Jason Duckworth finishes second, 2.3 seconds back over Zach the Hack Millett. Interesting nickname there. Mark Trucks goes fourth. Vincent Short will round out your top 5, JP.
Cody Anderson is going to finish in 6th place ahead of the number 43 of Leonardo Elijah. Jason Ethery is going to finish in 8th place ahead of Earl Lateral and Steve Singer, the two that we just mentioned that were involved in that last lap collision. And Jude, that's going to wrap up, there we go, our top 10. And I think we only had 3 extra drivers. There we go. Brad Allison is going to finish in 11th place, a lap down. Same as D.L. Lemon, 1 lap down. And Eddie Rose, unfortunately, 24 laps down in 13th place.
It is all 13 cars that showed up today for Watkins Glen. Just incredible the way things worked out there. Let's go ahead and grab our winner this evening. That is going to be David Tamira in car 14. And David, it was just about a perfect show for you. You didn't lead every single lap out there, but you didn't need to. What did it look like from the perspective of the cockpit of the 14?
I just need to be consistent and watch Zach. Time. It's getting closer, but I don't want to push it too hard, because if I push it too hard, I'm gonna have any incident or something. I end up zero incident, but my time is a lot slower than Zach or Steve. But yeah, I'm watching Zach, and that's my tactic. It's just watching him, just okay, it's getting there, but yeah.
Now, I hate to interrupt the interview, but we are hearing that Zach Millett will be dropped to the 8th place in the race. Apparently, he did not serve a stop-and-go penalty when he needed to. But, David, that's actually great news for you, because you're battling Zach and Steve in the points. Both have issues tonight. How do you look at these last 2 rounds of the season, then? Homestead next week, then Charlotte. Things are looking up and up for car 14.
We'll see. I'm going to practice so hard. Hopefully, I can finish top 3, catching this guy. But the next one, my penalty is I think I have to go to the pit, so will be tough.
Well, best of luck to you next week. 22 laps led and a victory today. Congratulations. We'll see how you do next week at Homestead.
Thank you.
A big win this evening for David Tamira as he claims a 2nd race win on the season. Let's see if we can get a hold of the guy who goes 2nd place tonight, Jason Duckworth. And JP, here is driver 73.
So, Jason, I mean, it was second place early on in the race. It looked very comfortable, and you kept up, I mean, the pace with the leaders. And but it just wasn't enough. Were you just saving a little bit? What happened?
Well, I mean, I'm not really in this league so much, and I wasn't really pushing the car. I didn't do any practice whatsoever after doing the race with the old farts. I don't even remember where we were now. So yeah, I just jumped in and ran laps. I'm pretty used to Watkins Glen. I did let the leader go because, like I said, I'm not in this championship. I'm not going to wreck anybody's race. I just wanted to come out and have a good time, and somehow I got a P2.
I mean, you certainly were really quick, I should say, on, in qualifying on the early stages of the race. And as you mentioned, throughout the race, you weren't involved in the championship. And during your pit stop, we saw a change of tires. Was that a strategy, and how did it affect the car on the early stages of the, cold tires and everything?
Well, I knew I was going to have to go out and do 9 qualifying laps to keep P3 behind me. I figured that I would do better on the fresh tires after 2-3 laps of warm up, and I basically just sat out there and tried to do 9 qualifying laps in a row, and somehow managed to keep the car on the track.
Well, absolutely. And just one final question: next week at Homestead, what are the plans? Are you comfortable with the racetrack? How is it going to be?
I have never driven said racetrack, so this will be a new experience. I don't mind learning things. In fact, that's part of the fun of this, and I hope we do well. Hope we put on a good show.
Well, absolutely, Jason. Today you put in an amazing show, and hopefully we can see a similar pace from the 73 just like we had today. Well done, and wishing you a good race for next week.
Thanks, man. Thanks for everyone that runs this league, and thanks, Steve, for inviting me.
Well, injured, that was Jason Duckworth, second place, a really strong performer here tonight. And, we're just going to have to wait and see if next week he can put a similar performance for us.
And let's bring in the driver that we thought would finish third place tonight, Zach. What happened? It sounds like you're going from finishing third to finishing 8th.
Yeah, totally on me. I thought I came to a stop, but, I was coming down pit road with Steve, and I really wanted to get out ahead of him because I know how fast he is. And I think I just watched it really quick, and it looked like I got down to like 5 or 6 miles an hour, so I just missed it.
And how, I guess, difficult is that as a driver? Obviously, you're in the moment and everything. You have to come to a stop and get back out there. That's not easy to do. It's not easy to tell yourself that you have to stop when you're trying to go hundreds of miles an hour sometimes.
It's the worst, and I think really the worst part about it is surviving the first lap, and because you want to get around as many people as you can to gain momentum and as much track position as possible, but not wreck at the same time. And no matter how many cars you pass, you're going to pit. So it's like almost all for nothing,
Well, you should still be the points leader after this race, albeit it's going to be a lot more challenging to hang on to that these next 2 weeks, I think. Everything's a whole lot tighter for 2 really chaotic races at Homestead and Charlotte. Best of luck to you, Zach. Can't wait to see how you do these next 2 weeks.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Zach the Hack Millet taking, it's going to be 8th place when it's all said and done. Scored in 3rd, we know, but will end up, I guess, 8th. That is difficult to swallow for a driver like Zach, for really anybody. I mean, that is really tough to try and swallow in his position. That will do it this evening, though, for Watkins Glen, at least for the on-track stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in, but we're not done just quite yet, JP. A few broadcasts coming up here on Pit Stop TV. Here's a look at them tomorrow night. I know it says 6:30 Eastern. That actually needs to be updated. That will be 8 Eastern. Things have changed a little bit, but we're back to having that race on the schedule. NASCAR Rallycross tomorrow night from Sonoma Raceway. It will be 8 p.m. Eastern here on Pit Stop TV. Then Wednesday, it's Old Fart Sim Racing from Chicagoland Speedway. It's a very fun their league name there, and glad to be filling in once again for HBR TV. And then Wednesday, September 14th, we have the Outlaw Sim Series, and the Daytona Road Course kicking off their playoff for the championship. JP, there's a lot of places to watch and follow along with Pit Stop TV, and they're on the screen below.
Absolutely. As you can see, you can follow us on Facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, Instagram.com/Pit_Stop_TV, and YouTube.com/PitStopTV1.
Of course, there's plenty of racing going on here on Primetime Racing TV as well. I'm going to quickly go through some of the broadcasts coming up. Those being Let's see here, the Elite Cup Series, that is, looks like Tuesday night at 8:55 p.m. Eastern, and scheduled for, I guess, Tuesday, I have to do my math here. So no, it's tomorrow night for the Elite Cup Series. Tomorrow night, round 8 from Daytona for the Elite Cup Series. But then Tuesday, in 2 Tuesdays' time, if you will, TNR Master Millwright Big Block Series from Volusia will kick off on September 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So some upcoming broadcasts for both channels here, as we had this double feature. Big time thank you to Corey Silva once again for having us step in for him this evening. And a big time thank you as well to Steve Singer for wanting us to step in for this league this evening. It was a lot of fun to be back here for the SCAR Radical Series. Definitely a lot of fun, JP, and I can't wait to see if maybe we get an opportunity to do this again at some point in the future. But that will do it for us here from Watkins Glen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. We hope you'll follow along both on Primetime Racing TV and Pit Stop TV. It's been fun. We'll see you next time.